Hey guys, it's Rob. Today we're back for another instructional step-by-step video. I think it's going to be super interesting because I'm going to do one of my favorite haircuts, the Pompadour, of course, but it's going to be slightly different. It's going to be tapered, not faded, because my model and friend Dicky here, I've been cutting his hairs for years, right? And he's got this really thick hair with a lot of natural curl and wave. If I'm gonna do like a classic Pompadour and take it all away from his face, that's not gonna really work. It's gonna be too high. So I wanna keep length on the sides, and I wanna use a classic Pompadour shape, but texturize the whole thing up. So you really got this old rocker look. That's what we're going to go for today. Okay, as always, I'm going to start by thoroughly wet the hair, right? I always work with wet hair because I'm going to set in the base of the haircut. Yeah, so I'm going to use water. No products added to the water this time. Sometimes I add a little bit of tonic. This time I want to use pure water because his hair is still a little bit greasy from the last product we used. I don't want to make it more greasy. So thoroughly wetting the hair. And the moment you start wetting the hair, it's actually the moment you're going to start looking for your haircut. This is the moment where the hair is going to tell you what it wants to do. So you can already see that the sides, you got to be careful. If you go too short, the hair will stand out. It's quite pokey. It's because of the natural wave. Yeah? So I got this trick, and if you watch the other videos that we made, and we made 3 so far. We did a flat top, we did a classic Pompadour, and we did a skin faded Ivy League inspired haircut. Yeah? If you watch these videos, you'll see that I always start at the same way, by starting with the baseline, right? Now the trick is where to set in that baseline. So we're going to start by dividing the hair in two, right? Usually on a men's haircut, most of the action is on top. So that is the hair I want to save till later. I'm going to start by cleaning up the side. Now if you want to divide the hair in two, the parietal ridge is usually at 45 degrees of your 90 angle degrees that you would normally use for a flat top. That's quite technical. If you want to make sure you're at the right angle, what you can do is, and I literally do this on every haircut, you follow the natural implant of the hair. You got your temple area, so you got 2 natural hairlines, the one going up in the temple area and the one going backwards. If you follow that natural hairline, you can never go wrong with your first horseshoe parting on the parietal ridge. The second section that I take is also always the same. I follow that other line of the temple area. So this is your natural implant. What you do is you follow that same line, and you're going to take out a triangle in front that you're going to save till later. I don't really know what I'm going to do with the hair yet, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to make sure that my basic shape is the way I want it. And then I'm going to connect the cool part of the haircut, which basically is responsible for the name of the haircut. Whether it's a Pompadour or a slick back, that's where the action is. That's what I'm going to save till later. Now, from the last videos, I got a lot of questions about that first angle of the sides, right? And whether you're going to decide if you're going to use clippers or scissors. Now, I told you guys before, clippers and scissors really are not that different. Yeah, they do the same. They open, they close, hair falls on the floor. The magic of your whole haircut is and will always be in the angle of the comb, right? So if I set in my comb at a certain angle, it doesn't really matter if I do that with a pair of scissors or I do the same thing with a pair of clippers. Nothing really changes. The whole trick is, what angle do you use to set in that first baseline? Now, all the hairdressers will recognize this. Taking a section of hair and set in that first line, that first angle of the haircut, right? And you're going to follow that guideline and set in the same angle. Now I'll show you that it's really not that different from clipper work, because that same angle, right? I'm using the Babyliss FX Pro, and I got a graphite blade. Yeah, these slide even better through wet hair. Make sure that you dry your clippers when you're done. That is the way to treat your clippers. Now, my angle, right? Whether I'm using a comb or my fingers, the angle does not change. That is the whole magic of doing a longer tapered haircut. So when I'm lifting all that hair up and I set in my baseline, right? As always, using my body in small steps to move around. See, the moment I am secure about that length on the parietal ridge, yeah, the trick is this. See, I have that baseline, and what I do is I look for the previous cut baseline. See, and instead of moving up, creating a wade line, I move down, creating a soft tapered side. Yeah, I'm going to repeat that process right here so you can see what happens. Baseline, lifting all the hair up to that baseline. Now this is a very important part. You want to take all that hair because it's actually part of the haircut. Don't try to focus on your baseline alone. You want to lift all the hair, follow that baseline, step, follow that baseline, follow that baseline, follow that baseline. Now, as you can see, all these straight lines will make a perfect curved line into the nape area. Once I have that guideline here, all I got to do is bring that same hair up, look for that guideline, look for that guideline, look for that guideline, and by doing so, see, I'm not even really focusing on the hair that's coming off. I'm really trying to focus on my guideline. Now, this is where it gets interesting. See, remember what I told you about hairdressing? I used to be a hairdresser. I know all about angles, but it's how you translate them to either scissor or clipper. Because now, when you check your line, see, it doesn't matter how you check that line. Yeah, diagonal, horizontal. See? So you use your clippers the way a hairdresser would use their fingers. So it's really important that you're in control of that length. But to create a nice taper with just clippers, this is a very, very fast and even more important, controlled way of working. Why do I find it so important to set in that baseline? Because the transition into the hair on top is secured. There is nothing to worry about anymore. So now I can basically remove a little bit of bulk. A little bit of bulk, not too much. See, because I'm going to use that hair later. But if there is one thing that, I mean, I'm not going to say I know it all, but if there is one thing that I really believe in, it's this. I always want to have a little hair left to play with later. I think that is where a lot of people, I'm not going to say wrong, because there is no wrong. There is no wrong. You should do a haircut the way it feels comfortable to you. But with my way of working, instead of, for example, in the nape area, start low and take that hair away. See, hair that's gone is gone. See? Well, I got a little bit of hair left. So at this point, I can really decide how short I want to go. And especially on Dicky's really thick and coarse hair, I like the hair to be a little bit longer on the sides. For the simple reason, I know how his hair grows out. Yeah? And if I'm gonna go for a super short fade on this really thick hair, within 2 days or in 2 weeks, his hair is gonna grow out like this, right? And it's gonna look stupid. And for me, it's not just important how my client leaves my shop. I think it's super important how he's gonna look the next 6 to 8 weeks. For me, that's way more important. Those are the clients that come back, right? The moment you have secured the base of the haircut, I'm gonna move to my next step. And my next step is connecting the hair on top with the previous cut baseline. Here we go. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take another section in the hair on top. Now I'm going to move here, which is the widest point of the head where the ear is attached to the skull. That's going to direct me to the highest point of the skull. See, it's all combined. Once you understand the mathematics and the shape of the skull, you can literally do every haircut. And in the end, it's a couple of tricks combined, right? You got to master those first tricks. After that, that's where your signature way of working comes in. That's what's going to take all these years and years of experience, right? If you learn how to read the hair, how you're going to see what to do with a certain kind of hair. But this trick is something you can learn. This is a trick that everybody can learn. That is the beauty of this way of working. This is the way we teach our ways in the Old School Academy. So I'm going to take a section of hair. After that first section I did on the widest point. Now the next trick is this. You're going to stand right behind your sectioning. You're going to over direct all that hair to your previous cut baseline. There it is. And you're going to connect those hair on top. See, as you can tell, in the case of very thick and coarse hair, I'm using the white teeth of my comb. I use tension, but not too much. For me, the over direction is more important than the tension on the hair. Yeah? If I put too much tension on the hair with the wave, the moment it dries, you're going to have a little dent in the hair. Yeah? So, this part is connected. So I'm going to move to that triangle over here. Taking another section. That area here. Yeah, and then in a very heavy manner, I'm going to connect those hairs on the side. Yeah? As you can tell, I'm lifting it without tension, leaving it quite long and quite strong, because I know Dicky's hair a little bit, and I really need, you know what? He's got really, really nice hair. And sometimes the trick, if you got a client with beautiful hair, it's really not about what you cut off. It's about what you leave, right? Hair can be an absolute gem, you know? It can be an absolute jewel. Why would you make your jewel smaller, man? Sometimes you gotta keep the hair to move around. See? I'm gonna double check all the hair on top. And in a very loose manner, connect it to the previous cut baseline. Yeah? Which brings us to that front triangle. Yeah? Now again, this is all a technique. This is all a trick. If you watch our other videos, they're all on our channel, you will see that I basically, no matter if it's a flat top or a pompadour or a slick back, doesn't really matter. My basic way of working never really changes. Even when I have a guy walking in with long hair who's a really big Ramones lover, you know, and he's got the full fringe or he's got the mod haircut, I will approach the haircut in the same manner. So, see, all that long hair, I'm going to comb close to the skin, leaving a lot of length and a lot of weight, and then by slightly lifting the hair, I'm going to connect the first triangle to the previous cut length. Taking another section, and this is just a double check. There's probably not going to be a lot of hair coming off. See, if you comb the hair back at this point, you already have a perfect shape haircut. See what I mean? From there, this is the trick. This is something everybody in the world can learn. You stand here, you do this, you do that, that's going to happen. Only after this is going to be interesting. Okay, so this process is something everybody can learn. This is, again, the technique that we use in our Barber Academy. This is what we show our students. Now, as you can tell, this is pretty much how Dicky walked in, and this is what you can achieve in 5 minutes with either clippers or scissors, right? It's not just about these, it's really about these, you know, because if you know how to hold these, that is the trick, yeah? It's all about angles and where you are during the haircut. Before moving to the other side, I'm roughly gonna clean up the outlines just to see what's going on with the shape of the haircut. Now, you can use trimmers or you can use scissors, whatever you're comfortable with. With a longer haircut, I kind of tend to use scissors because I got a little bit more feeling of what's going off. So, pulling the ear back, and as you can see, I'm not pulling the hair in a certain direction, but I'm following the natural implant and wave of the hair. Especially when it's longer, you don't want to pull all that hair down and cut it off, because the moment the hair dries, sometimes you find out you went a little bit too short. And nothing looks more stupid than when you got a slightly longer cut with an arch above the ear up till here, right? It might work with some really short haircuts because duh, that is the natural implant, right? But especially when you go for a slightly more classic look, those fenders cannot just stop around the ears. To the other side of the haircut, I'm gonna take my magic potion again here, water. Now, we got a very, very nice grooming line called Reuzel pomade. I love that stuff. There's literally not one haircut in the world you cannot fix with one of our products. That's a promise. But, to be really honest, the most important product in the world, when you're a barber or a hairdresser, water. Yeah, because whatever you can do with water, you can recreate with the product. So during the haircut, if you're in doubt, if your client is still able to comb the hair back or comb the hair up, if you can do it with your water, you can always recreate that look with the product. Now, remember that first section, yeah, combing it all back, following that natural implant. When you do your sectioning, make sure you do your sectioning with your body. Yeah, if you only use your comb, you're going to be out of control in the haircut. You're going to be lost. Yeah, make sure, because in that case, the shape of the skull will guide your hand. Yeah, and the skull basically has the same shape. But because of DNA, every skull is slightly different. Yeah? All little details that will make your haircut better throughout the years. First section, second section, I'm going to follow the other natural implant in the temple area. Clippers, lifting all the hair. Make sure, by the way, that the hair is evenly damp. Very important, because wet hair has 25% more stretch than dry hair. If you would cut two sides in the same manner, but one side dry, one side wet, you're going to have two completely different sides. So, lifting all that hair up, 90 angle degree, keeping in mind that the hair has a slight wave, so not too much tension. Baseline, see, all the hair is up. One step, following the baseline into the nape area. Yeah, one step. I know it's a little childish to talk about the little steps, but you know what? That's also a trick, because when I'm right behind my model, I always pull the hair right to my sternum. When I do that, I always know that I'm pulling it straight out of the skin. The moment you start working like this, you're out of balance. And balance in the haircut is something that is highly underestimated, right? You can do one beautiful side, you can do another perfect side. But if they're off balance, the haircut in total is going to look shitty. Makes sense, right? Okay, so moving into that nape area, little steps, always looking from high down upon that baseline. Combing the hair slightly down, look for that baseline. 1, 2, hairdressers, if you are lost how to taper, right? If you're lost with your angle, take a good look at the comb, because what would your fingers do? A taper is really not that different from a graduated haircut, right? If you know how to graduate the nape area, it's the same angle as your comb. So, removing hair, double check, and again, look at the angle of the comb. It is exactly the same as the angle of your fingers. right? Taking out a little bit of hair in that nape area. Now I'm just setting in the base of my cut. I'm gonna leave hair to play with later. See, removing a little bit of bulk, Now this is the point in the hair where I can see that because of the thickness, this hair is really gonna stick out, right? But because I started high and left a lot of length, I got enough hair to fix, right? If I would have taken like a guard 4 or 5 and I would have set it in, pull it out, because of that motion, I would have like a super pokey ridge here, which would have made my haircut so much shorter on top than I would want in the end. See, that is my whole thing. Keeping hair, saving it till later. So, I'm going to connect the hair on top in the same manner as the other side. Remember, widest point is going to leave exactly to the highest point. Yeah? Taking that out. One section. Stand right behind your section and comb all the hair again to your sternum. See, it's really not as much as where your hands are as where your body is. Knowing where your body is throughout the haircut is going to determine the final shape of that haircut. See, I'm over directing, pulling all the hair to the previous cut baseline, and by over directing it, you're always going to keep enough weight in that nape area. You never have to be scared of going too short. You never have to be scared about a cowlick or a crown area going yeah, because you got enough weight to work with. Section in that left panel of hair right in front of the ear. Very loose connection, because you don't want to go short on this part of the hair. This is really where that square angle that's going to make the hair that look masculine is. If you go too short here, your client, your model, the moment you dry the hair, it's going to look like Bert from Bert and Ernie. No, there are clients that might like that, but they are very, very rare. I hope. Repeating the same process in the front, combing it all down, leaving a lot of length. Okay, we're going to move to the next step in the haircut. It's not cutting the hair, it's drying the hair. I personally think one of the most important steps in the haircut, because during the drying of the hair, you can actually tell where the hair wants to go tomorrow. And tomorrow is way more important than today, because today I'll fix his hair, but tomorrow he's got to fix it himself. I'm going to very loosely dry the hair.
Hey! Nice.
Cheers! Cheers!
There you go. Cheers.
Yes. Perfect! Thank you!
Thank you.
Okay, so I dried the hair, and as you can tell, the shape of the haircut is basically completely there. These steps you can learn. Practice, 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 right? But now, as I told you guys before, the fun is going to start, because this is really where you put your personality and your experience into the haircut. See, Dicky's hair is quite thick. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to set my clippers to 0, and I'm really going to go freehand into the haircut. Right? And I'm taking off that little bit of thickness on the sides. This is really sculpting the hair the way you want to have it. Right? This is such a personal way of working, but it is actually quite easy. What you do is, and I hope you can hear this because Jelle is quite close with the camera, but what I'm doing is I'm actually listening how much hair I'm taking off. See, I'm looking on the hair from high down, yeah, and I'm gonna look, see, there's a little bulk here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna scrape off that bulk in the hair. See, as I told you guys before, I like to always have a little hair to play with. Now, with the technique that we used, see, there is still enough hair to detail the whole thing. So I'm going to go a little shorter in front of the ear to give my client the feeling he's got a proper haircut without taking too much hair off. See? Because especially on Dicky's hair, it's very personal. I can't do this on every client, but he's got the hair for it. Look at that. See? It's quite thick, super square, a lot of length to play with on top, right? See, I took care of this side, but you can tell this side is really still thick and kind of chaotic. Yeah, so I'm going to move to that side. And I'm going to use that same freehand technique combined with my normal tapering technique, see, to scrape it off and look for the balance on two sides in the haircut. Now this side has the tendency to jump out a little bit more. Makes complete sense because every head of hair, every body in the world actually, the hair starts at the central crown area. And as we all know, the hair turns into a certain direction. And it doesn't only do that on the crown area, that is a movement that goes on throughout the whole skull. That's usually when women's hair, when you do a bob, you got one side going in and one side going out. See? So instead of just using my comb and trusting the shape of my comb, I'm going to trust in the shape of my clippers. But even the angle of my clippers as I do this would be the same as my fingers or the shape and angle of my comb. As you can tell, I'm actually still taking off a lot of hair, but because of that basic shape that I didn't wear, now I can see and tell exactly how short I want to go, which would have been impossible when the hair was still wet. But you know what? A client is not going to go to a bar with wet hair. That would not make any sense, right? I mean, can you imagine a guy going to a bar? Hey, baby, what's up? Can I buy you a drink? No, right? You gotta cut the hair the way your client's gonna wear it the next day, which is dry. If you look at the flat top video, you see me using the clippers on top of the hair, right? Flat topping the whole thing. Right? Now every hairdresser knows how to pick a section on the hair, right? You take a nice section and you go like, oh, I gotta take some hair off there, right? The thing is, said before, scissors, clippers, in the end it's all the same tool. They open and they close and you take the hair out. So whether I'm using my scissors or my clippers, doesn't really make a difference. The difference is knowing what hair to cut off. So where is that comb? See, bringing it to the same position over and over again. Here we go. This is all pretty blunt. Yeah, you see the shape of the classic Pompadour. But now I'm going to break the thing up a little bit. I want to add some texture. I want his hair to be able to move. I want it to be able to be easy to manage for the man himself, right? So I'm going to take my blending scissors, right? And I'm going to start with that crown area. Remember that triangle in the front that I kept out? See, this is where the cool action is. This is what's going to make the haircut even more rock and roll. But I want to blend out that top a little bit. You already see that basic shape. I'm going to lock shoulders, elbows into the shape I want to have. And what I'm going to do here is, see, I'm going to go over it and I'm going to blend the whole thing in. Now, I said it in other videos, these are not thinning scissors. They're blending scissors. You got to be very, very careful with these. See, because they take away about 80% of hair. And that's how I use them. I move my arm slow and my scissors fast. By doing so, I'm not just creating texture, I'm actually enhancing the shape of the haircut, see? So I'm going from pretty short on the crown area, leaving it full, yeah? And then I got that beautiful part of hair here to work with. At this point, I'm going to use blending scissors almost as a Sharpie, yeah? I'm going to look for bulk, plus I'm going to look where I just want to give that haircut a little bit extra, right? So you can either do that freehand, or if you're more insecure about your freehand, you're going to double check the lines of your cut, spread them out over your fingers, and take out weight where you want to take out weight. Now I hope you can tell that it might look like I'm taking out a lot of hair, but I'm not, guys. I'm looking at what the hair is telling me. See? Bulk, bulk, bulk. Slightly lifting my fingers, let the hair slide through, almost as if you would do a scissor over comb taper. Yeah? What I find really interesting is that the longer you cut, you're going to find out that a lot of these techniques are pretty much the same. You know, whether you're tapering, fading. See, sliding it through, that's how you create movement. See, it's not a very complicated haircut, but there is some really hidden gems, going from really short hair, thicker above the ears, in a fluent line to that shorter nape area. You cannot create this with guards. Impossible, right? You can set in a base with guards for sure, but if you really want to put your signature in a haircut, this is where you do it. Leaving a little bit of hair, enough hair to really give your client that custom-made haircut for him and him only. Because this haircut is going to work on Dicky hair, but this haircut might not work on John, who has an appointment after Dicky. See, that is the beauty of it, because you can use that basic technique, but at this point, it's going to be a Dicky haircut or a John haircut. So, when I blended this all in, see, it's the shape of the cut that's doing all the work. No matter how I rough it up, see, the hair falls in shape, almost like a tailor jacket, yeah? With that base of your classic pompadour. What I'm going to do with the front is, I'm going to use, again, blenders. I'm going to take the crown area as my pivot to work towards to. And I'm going to bring the length and the thickness of the front to that crown part. See, blending it all in. Yeah, and I'm really looking for wave. See, bringing it all to the sides, to that previous cut baseline, blending the whole thing in. Now, as you can tell, see, I'm leaving length, but it's blending in beautiful. See, it might not be the way you wear your hair. Well, I know, because come on, this is my client. I know how he likes to wear his hair. So, once you're completely happy with the shape of your cut, then you got to test it by running your fingers through. You don't want to have any hair sticking out in any place. So you want the hair, the shape of the cut, to do the work. As you can tell, I have not used any product yet. This is Dicky's hair doing the work. This is the way of cutting that does the work. See? At this final point, I'm really going to take some length. Now I'm going to watch what the hair wants to do. See, so I want to have some shorter hairs supporting those longer hairs in the front. Yeah, you really have to know how much you can take out and off. See, because Dicky's hair is quite thick, so you can go for a little bit more of a stronger texture. I'm going to clean up my final lines, trimmer. So, baseline, work down from the baseline, connect all the hair on top to the baseline, dry, and then finalize your shape. As you can tell, the basic shape is your classic pompadour, but by breaking up that front part, I'm really turning it into a texturized rock and roll haircut. See, there's a little Rolling Stones there, but the base is still Elvis Presley. Now I'm going to use a little bit of the Reuzel Extreme Hold Matte Pomade. The haircut doesn't really need much of the product, but I'm just going to make it a little more, you know, dirty actually, because, you know, I like dirty hair. But as you can tell, the haircut doesn't really need a lot of product. Yeah? If you know a haircut doesn't need a lot of product, you basically know it's a good haircut. Yeah? So I'm going to take just a little bit, divide it through your hands, and then divide equally from roots to ends. See, now you might know that Elvis Presley, actually, he combed his hair in perfect shape. But what he loved the most was when he got on stage and he did that first move and it would roll open, right? It was like the Elvis flick. That's what I really like about a haircut, yeah? That natural move. Now, I think that for this gentleman, see, it's a combination of your classic pompadour, yeah? You can tell it's a well-cut haircut, yeah? But it really is built for his personality, right? This is the way he wears his hair. This is how he wears his hair tomorrow. I think it's a haircut with attitude. I had loads of fun making it, and if you want to know more, subscribe to our channel. Zo, zit er echt goed, jongen.